But yeah.
What about backbiting? Do you feel the same?
Backbiting, which everybody's guilty of backbiting.
But do you feel like it's right or wrong?
That's a good question. So let's get into back. So when you're backbiting, is it just gossiping?
Yeah, like
because I'm kind of on the fence on that.
I think.
I'm on the fence on that.
And Mariam, if you have something to say, I know you're busy right now, so just want to we're not hogging the conversation, but I think. So backbiting, essentially, yeah, you're like talking junk about someone behind their back. You know, I don't know if there's a, and I feel like we did talk about this during like the Tafsir room, maybe last year or the year before, whichever one it was, of like perhaps there's a difference when it comes to when you're making constructive comments, like when you're talking about, like, let's say we're talking about something that someone says, like we're talking about facts. This is what happened. Let me tell you what happened.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like, okay, I'm not talking junk about that person. So I feel, and I definitely want people to let me know, and this is something I want to actually also take back for homework and for myself, but I want to understand more is what is considered backbiting. Like when if let's say you weren't there, right, and something happened somewhere, and I come back and I'm telling you like, oh, this is what happened, like this person said this, and then this person said this, and then this person said this, and then this person said this, right? Like, so number one, that's just me recounting what happened. So I feel like that's not backbiting. I feel like that's kind of like I'm telling history of what happened. Now, given the fact that we're humans and things like that, like people see things in their own viewpoint, and the words that they may use may be based on their own biases, but nevertheless, I'm not necessarily like giving an opinion on it. And then the second thing is, let's say, for example, something political happens, and then it's a discussion in a classroom or somewhere, and you're talking, and then there's a conversation, because even in classrooms they have this, right? Like in political science or whatever. Like, what do you guys think about this? What are the pros and cons? Do you agree? Do you disagree? When you agree with something, you talk about, here are the reasons I agree. When you disagree with something, you talk about, here are the reasons I disagree, right? And in the reasons you disagree, you're laying out like, because of this, because of that, and here's my opinion because of it. I feel like that they did this and they shouldn't have done this because this is the impact of this, blah, 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 blah. So like, again, trying to understand, would that, like, to me, I feel like that doesn't necessarily constitute as backbiting, because we're having a discussion about something and I'm giving my opinion in terms of like whether I agree, disagree, and then here are the reasons why, and here are my thoughts about it, right? Yeah. Now, if let's say I have a friend or someone that's not a friend or whatever, and I'm not necessarily talking about like from a what's the word that I'm looking for? From a constructive standpoint of like, in an objective standpoint of, here's where this person can kind of improve, and here are some of the flaws, and then this from a constructive standpoint, right? And then like an objective standpoint, like if it's this person is ugly, or they're this, or they're like more less constructive and objective, and more like making fun of the person or spreading rumors about the person, right? Like saying something that they didn't say, they do like they think they're all that and this, and like kind of like it's less constructive and more so like true gossip of like just slandering the person. I think that's considered backbiting. In my opinion. And I do honestly think that like it is something that is wrong. I don't necessarily think, and I personally have my, I have opinions about it, but I don't necessarily enjoy, like I feel like it is wrong to me. I feel like and that comes from like a feeling inside of me that like makes me feel uncomfortable and makes me feel wrong. And even if I am participating, because like you said, everyone's human, and you know, certain topics come up, and you know, maybe of someone that you don't know, whatever, blah blah blah. But like, you know, there is a huge part of me that's kind of like, avoiding to engage in that type of conversation for a long time, right? Like, there are people where like that's most of their conversations, like with their friends or with whoever. That is most of their conversation and topics are topics of others and backbiting of others. You know, no progressive, no, no like constructive, no, other type of conversation that's like, yo, what are you talking about that's actually helping you in your life, you know? Yeah. Like, all they sit and like on the phone and at their job, whatever, is to they thrive from just sitting there and backbiting people. To me, I definitely think that they are being the ones that are warned here, because you sit, especially if they feel like they're better than people, so you sit and you just kind of just, continue off and just about people and stuff. So I definitely feel like there are levels to it. We're all humans and things like that, but there are people who also take it to the extreme, whereas like their whole friendships groups are based on backbiting. Without, if someone were to say like, okay, remove a topic of talking about anyone, they probably wouldn't have much to say, except like, how is the weather? Because no one has anything actual really real to say, and I think that can actually be dangerous, and that can hinder someone's growth and productivity. Because if the only thing you really like, if there's nothing else you're having conversations about, that's all you're surrounding yourself with, how much growth are you actually doing? How much are you actually self-reflecting? How much are you holding up a mirror and talking about yourself? Here's where I need to be improving. Because if you're too busy talking about where the lack of other people, when are you actually self-reflecting to talk about yourself and what you need to do? Yeah. And here are my goals, and there's none of that conversation going on with some people. So
yeah. So one thing you mentioned, you said that if you're talking about something that's like factual, is that considered backbiting, right?
Yeah, I personally don't think that it is.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. It said backbiting, the act of speaking negatively about someone in their absence, is forbidden, haram, and can include gossiping, spreading rumors, or discussing someone's fault. Example of backbiting: saying something negative about a Muslim in a group chat where they are a member but not present. Telling someone that you saw another person do something they didn't want you to tell anyone about. Mentioning that a Muslim brother is stingy. Why is backbiting forbidden? Blah blah blah, things like that. So partially that also is considered like backbiting.
The interesting part of what you read is sharing something that someone didn't want you to share, right?
That's one part.
And which I agree with, because this is my secret. This is something that happened, and it's a betrayal, right? What is it? Sharing something someone did in the public, and it's like history. Like, oh, this person got potato chips, and they ate a salad yesterday, and then they had a burger for dinner. Like, I'm telling you, just like, okay, that's what everyone in the classroom had. Like, or I'm telling so-and-so had this, so-and-so had this, so-and-so had this, so-and-so had this. So to me, I don't think that that's backbiting, because I'm just telling you an account of like what everyone ate yesterday for dinner.
Okay. You're done? Mm-hmm. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're stating the facts. If you're saying, yeah, we all ate a burger, you're not saying anything negative about the person.
Yeah.
So whenever you say anything negative about the person and they're not present, it's considered backbiting. Mm-hmm. So whether it's facts that he's a thief, he's this, he's that, you're not saying in front of them is backbiting.
Okay, so then when let's say we watch the news and we see like a bank robbery, and then we have a conversation about it. Oh my goodness, the person went here, and then they did this, and then they did that. Like, is that backbiting against that person?
I think you're stretching it, because it would be like maybe within your community, within a group of people that you're with.
Like personal.
Yeah, or whatever, or somebody that you know, or somebody you don't have to be like really close to associate, somebody in the community. Because if you're talking about a news, like, that's like stretching it. That's like trying to that's like you saying, I'm just talking. When saying that, yo, we had burgers today, is just talking. A news, you don't know the person, you're talking about what's being reported, right? In that sense of that's not your community, that's just something on TV or whatever the case may be. Because that's the case, everybody backbites. Let's just say everybody does it. Everybody have done it. Some people do it more frequently than other. But we all do it. So saying that I'm just stating the facts can be negative. I think the absence of the person that's being talked about in a negative light is considered backbiting. So
I have a question for you guys.
yeah.
So you guys think it's only backbiting if you're talking negatively about a person? That's the only time it's backbiting?
That's according to what we read. Yes. Yes.
Because I'm thinking if it's something good about the person, like, oh, guess what happened to this person? They got this award and she's happy about it. Da, da, da.
That's not backbiting.
Yeah.
Because Auntie, I can read something for you that it states. It say like backbiting in Islam is the act of speaking negatively about someone in their absence. It's forbidden. It's haram. It can include gossiping, spreading rumors, or discussing someone's fault. Saying something negative about a Muslim in a group chat where they are a member but they're not present is considered backbiting. Telling someone that you saw another person do something that they didn't want you to tell anyone about is also considered backbiting. So if you're talking negative, anything that's like in a negative way, I think in Islam it kind of allows like negative energy and positivity. I mean, not negative energy, positive energy, and things like that. So yeah. That would be considered.
Yeah, because a while ago I was listening to someone. They're like, oh, if it's only backbiting if you're afraid to say it to the person's face. So like, let's say I say something about you behind your back. If I'm able to say that same thing in front of your face, then it doesn't count as backbiting. I don't know if that makes sense.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Is it? He's saying if you're able to, like, if you're not afraid to say it in front of the person's face, or if you have said it already in front of the person's face,
and then you go back and say it behind their back after you said it in front of their face.
Yeah, which one?
No, like let's say I'm gossiping with you. I'm like, oh my God, no, so Dauda is X, Y, and Z, right? And Dauda is not there. If I can say to Dauda, like, Dauda, you're X, Y, and Z, then it doesn't count as backbiting because I will say it to your face regardless of whether you were there or not. It's only backbiting if I'm saying things about you that I would never say to your face.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
When you have said it to his face already, or you're not afraid to...
She's not afraid.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know the difference, but I don't know. That's what I was asking, because I'm like, I don't know if that's like a technicality to make people feel better, because like Dauda said earlier, everyone gossips, everyone backbites, everyone like says something about someone that they would not necessarily say to the, like, I feel like there are people that will say it to your face, but for the most part, everyone talks about someone else, sometimes in a positive, sometimes in a negative way, right?
Exactly.
So no one is exempt from gossiping or from backbiting. So I feel like, I don't know if it's like a way that it's like a loophole that people said to make themselves feel better, or what. I don't know, but I've heard people say that before.
Yeah. So I think what I got from what you said is like, sometimes people be like, I say it behind your back, but I also say it in front of your face because I'm not afraid. So therefore, it's not backbiting because I'll do it in whatever the case may be. Either way, I'm gonna do it in front of you or behind you. So the person, if the person is aware of that, maybe is that, I know he's talking about my back, but I know you say it in front of my face. Would that be considered not backbiting? One, and two, it's like I also look at it the way I look at it is like, dude, everybody done missed prayers before. Like nobody pray on time all the time, right? You gotta miss prayer. Sometimes you might miss prayer. Sometimes you might go a day. Maybe you might miss one prayer, whatever the case may be, or you might make it up later, or whatever. So I kind of look at it like that. Sometimes it's like everybody's gonna backbite, right? Like it's just universal. But I think it's like try not to do it frequently, and
right.
Try to be aware of it, like, oh, okay, like maybe I'm doing too much, right? But if you're talking negatively about someone behind their back, whether you feel like you're gonna say it, you can say it in front of them or not, it's still considered backbiting. That's like saying, like, whether he's here, if he's here or not, I'm still gonna rob him. At the end of the day, you still robbed him. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I look at it like, okay, if you're talking negative about somebody, it's backbiting. Whether they're here, whether they're not here, at the end of the day, you're backbiting, regardless of the case. If you're talking positively about the person, that's not. I don't think that's considered backbiting.
Yeah, I think if it's positive, it's not considered backbiting. And I think to your point, they probably said it to make it more modernized of like, okay, yeah, you know, it's fine, or if it's okay. Because I personally don't think that, like, I don't think it's okay.
There's an exception though.
What?
So for example, if auntie tell you something like, oh my God, I just won $1 million, but don't tell nobody, right? It's like you telling people that she won $1 million. That's not negative, but she trusted you with something she didn't want you to tell other people. Because that can affect her, right? Because people can go, oh, let me get some money. Oh, I heard this, boom. So that could be considered backbiting, which is something it's not negative, right? Because you won $1 million and you entrusted your friend with something that's good for you. But if they share that information, it's not a negative information, right? But it can affect your life about other people being in your business. Because it does mention that about like engaging in disruptive behavior, spreading negative information. Well, in this case, the information is not negative, but it can affect your life, which you told
in a negative manner.
Yeah. So, so the positive can turn into a negative based on what other people do with the information. So. Yeah,
I think it's just like backbiting in general is a very bad habit.
Yeah.
That is, I feel like it's so hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I honestly though, I think that
because when you think about it, sometimes you don't even think about like what you're saying. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just say things and it's not like you're being mean or like you mean it in like a malicious way, but you're just talking, you know?
Yeah.
And you're most times you're speaking to like, you know, your close friends, or like, you know, if you're married, you're speaking to your husband or to your wife, so you're not necessarily thinking about it in that like negative manner. But if you sit back and you think, it's like, okay, this is like a really bad habit that everyone has.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, I agree.